Hello, student organization advisors. My name is Josh, and welcome to the RSO Advisor Training video. So in this video, we'll give an overview of the Department of Student Leadership and Involvement, provide a welcome to the RSO community, give an introduction to RSOs and the benefits of recognition. We'll go over RSO policy, RSO logos, provide an RSO funding overview, and go over advisor roles and expectations. So first and foremost, student leadership and involvement is a department here on campus, and we exist in part to help students succeed and to support individual growth and development. And a large part of this is overseeing the recognition and registration process of recognized student organizations on campus. In short, we're here to support you. We can help you and your student organizations navigate university policy, answer questions about accessing ASUU funding, helping your RSO set goals, help connect you with campus resources, and really answering any questions that you might have about your student organization. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of university policy, I wanted to take a second and say, welcome to the RSO community. We're so happy that you're here. Right now, we have about 450 unique student organizations on campus, and the work that you all do helps students build community, foster a sense of belonging, develop transferable skills, explore both career and personal interests, attend engaging events, and ultimately have fun here on campus. So what are RSOs? So RSOs stand for Recognized Student Organizations, and they're any group of students who register with and receive recognition from student leadership and involvement. To qualify, RSOs must choose their own leadership, have at least 3 currently enrolled students serving in leadership positions, and students must not be compensated by a university department for their work in the RSO. To maintain their recognition status, RSOs must re-register with student leadership and involvement each academic year. So what are the benefits of recognition? So all student organizations who are recognized by student leadership and involvement have the ability to reserve space on campus for free or at a reduced rate. They have the ability to fundraise on campus. They have permission to use a varying degree of university trademarks and logos. We'll talk about that later in this video. They have the opportunity to apply for ASUU funding, the opportunity to table at the Get Involved Fair that occurs both in the fall and in the spring. They have access to utilize Campus Connect and the ability to check out equipment from student leadership and involvement. So Campus Connect is a great resource for student organizations. That's getinvolved.utah.edu. On Campus Connect, RSOs can create a profile for their organization, manage their RSO's roster, post events, and use tools to collect RSVPs and track attendance, publish news articles, create forms, host elections, and more. And we have a separate video that dives into all the things that RSOs can do on Campus Connect. So I'd highly recommend that you check that out. Okay, let's dive into RSO classifications and relevant policy. So under University Rule 6-401A, we have 3 classifications of student organizations. So let's start off with registered. So registered student organizations are recognized by the university, but they're not a part of the university. They're operating as a separate entity. So this means that they have no access to university trademarks. They have to use at Utah logo set or verbiage. So this could be Cupcake Club at the University of Utah, Cupcake Club at Utah, something like that. They're not allowed to have financial accounts through the university. So they have to establish a bank account off campus with a third-party financial institution. This also means they don't have to have an advisor, but they can if they want to. Then we move over to affiliated. So affiliated RSOs are affiliated with a campus department, but ultimately they're not a part of the university and they're operating as a separate entity. This classification is reserved for sport clubs and fraternities and sororities. So these groups are assessed by risk management and legal. They have some use of university marks with permission. They follow additional rules of the department, and they have an advisor that has responsibilities assigned. So both affiliated and registered, as you can see down here, no financial accounts through the university, and they're not able to accept donations under the university tax ID number. So as we move across this dotted line, we get to sponsored student organizations. So as the name suggests, these groups are sponsored by a university department, and therefore they become part of the university. So they have an advisor who, in their job responsibilities, it's listed that they are the advisor to the club. They may have a dedicated workspace. They have access to use university trademarks and logos. So this could be the University of Utah Cupcake Club, Utah Cupcake Club, something like that. All of their financial accounts must be through the university. They can accept donations under the university tax ID number, and they're going to go through university contracting processes, work with their advisor to sign all contracts. And down here, regardless of classification, so sponsored, affiliated, and registered groups have priority on campus space reservations. They have access to ASU funding, and they're all required to go through the annual re-registration process and do any mandatory trainings. So as I mentioned before, affiliated groups are sport clubs and fraternities and sororities. So these groups have additional support. So sport clubs has additional support and guidance from campus recreation services. Fraternities and sororities have additional support and guidance from the Office of Fraternity and Sorority Life. Both of these organizations are still recognized student organizations. They go through the recognition and registration process just like any other student organization, but there are some additional steps to be recognized either as a sport club or a fraternity and sorority. A note about RSOs who want to provide patient or medical care. Providing patient or medical care is defined as rendering medical, surgical, dental, or nursing treatment, including the furnishing of food or beverages in connection therewith, or in furnishing or dispensing drugs or medical, dental, or surgical appliances. So RSOs who wish to provide patient and medical care must seek sponsorship from a university department. They have to receive dean's level approval, and they have to have a dedicated advisor who will closely supervise the organization. So if your organization wants to engage in this type of work, please send us an email. We will provide you with the proper paperwork to fill out. You'll work with the dean of your college to fill this out, send it back to us, and we'll make it official so that your student organization can practice patient and medical care. Any RSO who is engaged in this work but does not seek the proper approvals could be subject to both SLI and university sanctions. If you're looking to update your RSO's classification, let us know. We'll send you an advisor form. You'll fill that out with the updated information. So that's your information as the advisor, your department head's information. You'll signify what relationship you're seeking to establish with the RSO. So that's a sponsored, affiliated, or registered. You'll send that back to us and we'll make it official. We'll update the organization's profile and provide guidance from there. If you're looking to sponsor an organization, some things you'll want to ask yourselves is what risk and liability is associated with sponsoring this RSO, right? So now the RSO is going to be sponsored by your department using your department's university financial accounts. So you'll just want to make sure that you're asking what kind of liability is associated with that type of relationship. Where do the RSO's funds currently reside? What is your plan to transfer funds from an off-campus bank account to one of your university department accounts? And what is your department's plan to mitigate risk and liability when sponsoring a student organization? Now, you may already have a good relationship with the student organization. Maybe you as an advisor, you already attend a lot of events and meetings and you know what the organization is up to. So it might be a very short conversation about mitigating risk and liability because you already know a lot about this student organization. Others, it might be a longer conversation. And honestly, let us know if you have any questions, if we can help answer any questions as you're deciding what classification you'd like to fall under. We're happy to help. Now let's talk about RSO logos. So different classifications of student organizations get to use different types of logos. So sponsored organizations, since they're part of the university, they may use university trademarks and logos. So this could be the University of Utah Cupcake Club, the Utah Cupcake Club. They can use the block U, the interlocking U's in their RSO logo if they want to. Then we have affiliated, right? So as I mentioned before, they may use university trademarks and logos with permission. So typically this applies to sport clubs. We have the Utah Tennis Club, the University of Utah Women's Rugby Club, so on and so forth. And again, they may use the block U, interlocking U's, so long as they have permission from Campus Recreation Services, Fraternity and Sorority Life, and ultimately the Trademarks and Licensing Department. Then we move on to registered. So registered student organizations may not use university trademarks and logos except the @Utah logo set and verbiage, right? So these groups are not a part of the university. They're separate entities that are recognized by the institution. So this means that their name has to be the Cupcake Club at the University of Utah, Cupcake Club at the U, Cupcake Club at Utah, something like that. They don't have to reference the university in their name. They could simply be the Cupcake Club if they want to. This is just some logos and some verbiage that are available to them. So this is what the at the U or at Utah logo set looks like. Registered student organizations can use these in their logo if they want to. Again, they don't have to, but they can if they want. We have all 4 of these logos in red, black, and white. These logos are available to sponsored student organizations and affiliated groups that have permission from trademarks and licensing, typically sport clubs. For printing RSO apparel, please note that RSOs must use an approved vendor when printing apparel with any university trademarks and logos on them. So I encourage you to visit the University Trademarks and Licensing website for a list of approved vendors. Now let's talk about RSO funding. So sponsored RSOs, because they're part of the university, must use university department financial accounts to make all purchases, and they cannot establish an off-campus bank account. So they can make tax-exempt purchases and accept donations under the university's tax ID. They should work with their advisor to sign all contracts and make sure that a designated representative from your university department is signing all contracts. Sponsored RSOs must follow all relevant university purchasing and procurement policies. So these groups are using university purchasing cards, they have access to UShop, things like that. Just make sure that they're working with their advisor to make the appropriate purchases. Affiliated RSOs are not a part of the university, right? So they must not use university department financial accounts to make purchases. Instead, they must establish an off-campus bank account to manage their finances. This also means that they cannot make tax-exempt purchases unless the organization applies for tax-exempt status through the IRS. This also means that they cannot accept donations on behalf of the university. So if folks want to donate to an affiliated RSO, they can donate to the student organization, but they are not going to receive any sort of tax write-off receipt from the university. University departments may reimburse affiliated RSOs for purchases. So if a department wants to support an affiliated RSO, the RSO would make purchases from their bank account, so from their debit card or write a check. They would save all the receipts and they could submit that to a university department who could process a reimbursement. We have an advisor toolkit document that walks you through sort of what this process could look like. So recommend that you review that document before processing any reimbursements. Very similarly, registered RSOs, again, are not part of the university. So they cannot use any university department financial accounts. They have to establish an off-campus bank account. They cannot make any tax-exempt purchases, again, unless they apply for tax-exempt status through the IRS, and they cannot accept donations on behalf of the university. Again, university departments may reimburse a registered RSO for purchases. University departments may also collaborate with RSOs on programs and initiatives. This does not necessarily establish a sponsored relationship between the RSO and the department. It is the responsibility of the department, though, to ensure the program or initiative is in alignment with the university's mission and follows proper risk management and safety precautions. An example of this might be if an academic college wants to invite student organizations within their college to host a college-specific career fair or a meet and greet with faculty and staff members, right? The academic or the university unit could do that, could host it, could invite student orgs to collaborate, and it wouldn't necessarily establish a sponsored relationship. You'll just want to make sure that your department is leading the charge, planning the event, and then the organizations are simply collaborating with you. ASUU funding. All RSOs in good standing with SLI may apply for supplemental funding from ASUU. RSOs can utilize this funding for hosting events, purchasing RSO supplies, and travel. ASUU funding is available through reimbursement only. So this means that RSOs make purchases up front, and if their request is approved, they are eligible for reimbursement. ASUU accepts, reviews, and votes on requests in cycles throughout the academic year. So RSOs are encouraged to view submission deadlines and guidelines on the ASUU website. This is asuu.utah.edu. RSOs in all classifications are eligible to receive ASUU funding. Sponsored RSOs will be reimbursed via an electronic transfer of funds between ASUU and the sponsoring department, while affiliated and registered RSOs will be reimbursed via check. ASUU releases funding guidelines each year that provide RSOs with information about the funding process, as well as what kinds of items can and cannot be funded through ASUU. Please note that ASUU will not fund fine arts organizations. Fine arts RSOs are student organizations that are sponsored by the College of Fine Arts. Please note that RSOs who violate university policy may lose their eligibility for ASUU reimbursement, right? So this means please make sure that your RSO is making purchases using methods that align with your correct classification, right? So this means that if you're a sponsored student organization, that you are in fact using university department financial accounts to make purchases. If you're an affiliated or registered student organization, you're using an off-campus bank account to make purchases. You're not using the university's tax-exempt status, things like that. Also make sure that your RSO is using the correct logos and using approved vendors when appropriate, right? So depending on your RSO's classification and the permissions that you have to use various logos, make sure that you're following that. So this means that if you're a registered student organization, you're using the proper logos that you have access to. Same thing with affiliated and sponsored. To help advisors and university departments understand the nuances of RSO funding, we have created this RSO funding matrix. It's here on the screen. It's also available in the RSO Advisor Toolkit documents that we've sent out to all advisors. If you want to take a look at it now, you can go ahead and pause the video and check it out. If not, it's also available as a PDF in those Advisor Toolkit documents. So, in short, sponsored RSOs are a part of the university, and therefore they have access to university purchasing and procurement methods. This also means that they should not be using any off-campus bank accounts to make purchases. Sponsored RSOs can request funding from ASUU. Affiliated and registered RSOs are not part of the university, and therefore they do not have access to university purchasing and procurement methods. This means that university departments should not make purchases on an affiliated or registered RSO's behalf. Instead, they should be managing their funds in an off-campus third-party bank account. They can request funding from ASUU, and university departments can reimburse affiliated and registered RSOs if they so choose. Now let's talk about advisor role and expectations. So advisors provide so much value. Advisors can help RSO student leaders navigate university policy, work through conflict, brainstorm ideas for events and programs, and help connect students with resources. So the relationship between an advisor and an RSO can vary from organization to organization. Essentially, it is important that the advisors and RSO student leaders discuss how they want the advisory relationship to work. When discussing with student leaders, you might ask yourselves, what are the RSO's needs? How much time is the advisor willing to give? What is the relationship between the RSO and the university department? So this is where that classification comes in, right? So an advisor to a sponsored RSO may have more responsibilities than an advisor to a registered RSO, simply because of the nature of the relationship between the RSO and the department. So again, ultimately, it's up to the advisor and the RSO student leaders to determine what this advisory relationship looks like. Some advisor duties could include providing general support, assisting student leaders in navigating university policy, helping students work through conflict, providing helpful context and knowledge for incoming student leaders, help student leaders create financial best practices. You might consider meeting with student leaders on a regular basis, attending events as needed, etc. So, to recap, we're so glad that you're here. Thank you for all the work that you do. We know that RSO policy is nuanced and there's a lot that goes into it. So recommend you review the RSO Advisor Toolkit documents that we've created to help you navigate university policy. Please know that we're here to support you, and let us know if you have any questions. Here is all of our contact information. Here's our website, leadership.utah.edu, our Instagram and Facebook handle. Here's my email address as well as my phone number. And we're also located in the Student Union Suite 234. So please let us know how we can help.